Projects which aim to uplift the standards of living for local communities will drive the development agenda of a country and contribute significantly to the achievement of the UN Millennium Development Goals. Welcome to It's Africa's Time. In episode 6, we introduce the Royal Bafokeng Nation, a community within South Africa which drives education as a pillar of its economic sustainability. We also return to Ghana to visit the partnership interventions of Yara and Citigroup and to document how these rural electrification and agricultural development initiatives are contributing to the long-term socio-economic growth of the country. But first, we meet with Ruby Sandu Rajan of the UNDP to discuss development on the African continent.
The Millennium Development Goals are probably the most powerful goals that the whole world has actually signed on to. They won't be achieved by any single organization or government or group or civil society. They're really goals that we all have to work at. And what's important for business to understand is that in order to achieve these goals, there is a very strong role for business, because business, private sector, is the engine for economic growth. In order to achieve also some of the goals, you need to look at issues such as energy. You need to look at issues such as infrastructure. So we won't be able to achieve those unless we also include private sector, we include businesses with us to looking to see how we can have much more sustainable ways of achieving these goals. The United Nations has in its Millennium Declaration and along with its Global Compact looked at business practices and tried to align them with universal practices such as the Universal Human Declaration, which looks at human rights, it looks at environmental law, it looks at labor practices. So I think what we need to do is to work with the government as well as with the United Nations agencies to see how we can make business practices much more aligned to some of the universal principles. UNDP really has several roles. The first is actually creating the partnership, and in doing so creating awareness on the Millennium Development Goals and the role that businesses can play, but also a brokering and a facilitating role. What are the triple wins? You know, you're looking at environment, you're looking at social, and you're looking also at economic. You want equitable economic growth, which is sustainable, but also which is not harmful to the environment. So I think what we need to do is find business practices and models which really integrate that.
First, we travel to Bolgatanga in the Upper East region of Ghana to learn about Citi's financial support for the government's rural electrification projects and to see how this intervention is improving standards of living and enabled business development in the area.
Welding, there's nothing you can do without electricity. Everything goes with electricity. So if there's no electricity, we cannot do anything.
There is a direct correlation between energy consumption and GDP growth. And if you recall, Ghana is doing something close to 13–14%. We have to match the demand, and we've realized that power requirements is a constraint to economic development.
The National Electrification Scheme was set up in 1989, with implementation planned over 30 years. Its objective was to connect all communities with populations over 500 to the national grid. Following pressure from some of the regional districts, government then instituted the Self-Help Electrification Project, allowing communities to play a role in accelerating this process. Citigroup has financed the fourth phase of the project by means of a long-term, low-interest loan.
I've been in electrical construction for nearly 25 years, but with the SHEP, we've been with it for about 15 good years. And we've done a lot of projects in rural communities all around town, and we could see that it's helped a lot of people, especially the rural communities that were not enjoying electricity. Now they have lights, they have water, and they have good health when you have all these three amenities around. And it's going to open up more businesses and more industries, which is going to have a serious impact in the lives of people.
Right now, I have only about 3 or 4 boys here. So I'm thinking if God bless, one day, I want it to be more than what is happening here. And I'll train more boys. With electricity, they can also open their own shops and then also grow up.
The project SHEP 4 is the supply and installation of electricity to 457 communities in the Upper East region of Ghana, and that equates to roughly 60,000 households. Tenga SHEP have a contract with the Ministry of Energy to do the supply and installation of the relevant equipment. And City's involvement is they providing the loan funding to the government of Ghana, represented by the Minister of Finance. The unique part of this transaction is the way that City have managed to structure the finance for the deal. It's a combination of a moratorium on the capital repayments combined with a 15-year tenure. And in addition to that, it complies with all the requirements laid down by the IMF in terms of concessional loans. And City have been very innovative in structuring this deal.
City is a commercial bank, and borrowing from the bank would have meant borrowing on commercial terms. But with the credit agency, we're able to borrow at a much longer tenor, sometimes also with the reduced rate of interest.
But the idea was, at the beginning, was that by 2020, we should get at least 80% of our population on the national grid. We have achieved it ahead of time, and we believe that by 2020, we may almost get universal access.
General distribution agreements are set up between the Ministry of Energy and the Volta River Authority, establishing how the electricity generated via the Volta Hydroelectric Scheme is transmitted to the various regions. The contractor, Tenga SHEP, then taps the power off the VRA grid and designs the procurement, logistics and installation of the equipment required. The communities who are represented by the district assemblies also contribute labour and basic equipment to the process.
Electricity is a very delicate and very skilled labour. So immediately the project is over. The project is handed over to the VRA. VRA will then engage community people, train them. When they are satisfied that they are able to discharge the duties of some kind of consummate precision, then you allow them to go.
And to be able to qualify to be under this self-help, you have to contribute some part of the capital investment. You have to be within 20 kilometers of a suitable medium voltage source. You have to contribute your LV post. You have to get a technical team to do your layouts for you. And the community should be willing that at the time that we are there, they wire at least 30% of the potential customers. And all that you have to do is to pay 58 pesos, which I think it's 25 cents to get registered and get connected on.
We have an agreement with the Ministry of Energy that at least 30% of the project value has to come from Ghana. So we try where possible to employ local labour and procure as many products as we can from Ghana.
The program is helping reduce poverty in Ghana in the sense that it helps small to medium scale businesses, creating employment.
The aim is that it would increase socio-economic development in these areas. We expect improvement in the standard of living of the people, water supply, education, health. We're going to educate our people better. With access to television, radio, even informal education would be better. And small scale enterprises come up. You don't see the rural-urban migration too much. It has an impact, a positive impact on women. They can now spread their time over the 24 hours more than the small daytime that they had. They were able to get their education from television, radio. They can communicate better. These days, mobile phone companies have moved to even mini banks and things like that. So all these little bits, things have helped on their own to improve the life of their people and reduce poverty.
When we want to prepare our food, we have to go and cut some trees to come and broil our food. But as of now, we can use that light to cook our food. We can see tele, we can see anything happen in the whole country. The teachers are even showing them how to learn how to write the computer. And I hope that, that those who come in will be enlightened more than us.
The horizon of the villages, they are no longer stuck to that kind of limited environment. They know a lot. All this is as a result of the magic of electricity.
The 150,000-strong Royal Bafokeng Nation is led by Kgosi Leruo Moletlegi and owns approximately 1,200 square kilometers of land in the Rustenburg Valley in South Africa's northwest province. This land overlies a valuable portion of the Bushveld complex, the richest known reserve of platinum group metals and chrome in the world, and royalties paid to the nation have traditionally been used to uplift the community. Today, It's Africa's Time will focus on the educational programs coordinated by the Royal Bafokeng Institute and which form part of a broader plan to make the nation's society and economy more self-sustainable.
We're really trying to create an enabling environment so that the people who live here have every opportunity to thrive and flourish.
The Royal Bafokeng Nation to me is a land filled with opportunity and the potential to become a well-developed, sustainable area.
King is actually somebody who takes a very active involvement in the management of all the institutions that we have. Having a leader who has a vision but can also communicate that vision, who can motivate people to follow him on that path, has been quite a profound thing for me to witness while I've been here.
I mean, we're exposed to leaders who are actually good, who are well valued, who have good morals, as opposed to the rest of the country, I would say, and the rest of the continent, as there are struggles here and there with leadership.
There is a selection process whereby we look for those children who we believe have the greatest potential academically, but not exclusively academically, to benefit the most from a world-class education. Through our programs with the other schools, we hope to lift all the schools in the region, so we're not excluding, but at the same time we're trying to give those with the greatest potential the greatest opportunity. And they will go on to achieve the things that they dream of achieving and bring back those skills to this community.
The school has the concept of producing well-rounded students, so they use the holistic approach. We do many cultural activities and sport is compulsory. You're constantly being encouraged to be a leader and people see potential within you and potential within every being, and you form an essential part of society. I'd like to go study international law and politics and then open up my own law firm. And then I'd like to start my own political party.
I'd like to study mechatronics. It's always been a dream of mine. I'd like to program and make my own robots and my own machines. I'd like to go outside and explore and also get some experience and then later come back and start my own robotics company here where people around will be able to be a part of it and hopefully will take technology to another level.
The Royal Bafokeng Institute was actually the King's brainchild back in 2007. He brought in educators, education specialists, educational psychologists, curriculum specialists.
So part of the discussion around why we needed an agency such as the Royal Bafokeng Institute was to do with lifting the levels of education among the teachers. Unfortunately, due to our apartheid legacy, much of the standard of education in the country is very poor.
Our continuous professional development program is coordinated through a host of teachers who we would consider to be master teachers, who are really skilled at their particular subject or age range, and their role is to try and connect with colleagues in a range of different schools, or piloting the work at Lebone in order to lift the quality of classroom craft.
We're doing that with a few schools, and in particular at Moromogolo, where we have begun this year. Currently, the program is in the grade R classroom, that's the reception year, but we hope that that will grow into all the classrooms. So we are focusing down at the bottom because we understand that unless we get it right at foundation phase level, we find our children are always playing catch up. We have 60 young people studying teaching at university. And the hope is that all 60 of those will come back into our schools and go through this CPD program where they will become expert teachers.
My professional plans now is to study even further. Next year I'm planning to do my honors, maybe master's and doctorate, so that I can help other teachers around Bafokeng schools to share my knowledge and skills with them. The way the king look after his nation, he takes education as a priority, and then through education we can fight everything.
In 2011, the Royal Bafokeng Language and Literacy Programme funded and sourced trolleys and books to launch mobile libraries in all the nation's primary schools. Currently, there are 370 mobile units containing over 40,000 books.
There's a very strong oral story tradition in the community, and what we're trying to add to that is the culture of reading. We've had workshops where we've been able to assist the teachers in implementing the curriculum using the libraries. It's one of the most important gifts that you can give children in school, the gift of reading and the exposure to print that allows their minds to grow and let them achieve their potential in a school environment. It's very difficult for children in rural communities.
Education across the world is considered to be the high-stakes way in which you can catapult an environment into a developed future.
As you know, platinum is a finite resource, and the life of mine here is estimated at anywhere between 30 and 60 years. So we're taking it as a matter of urgency now to create skills and services and demand in this region. So Plan 35 really extends everything that we're doing in education and health, in economic development, but expands it beyond our borders, so that we're providing models for other communities that are traditionally governed or affected by mining, and that we're also really adding value to the entire Northwest Province.
True wealth is in human capital, and until we get to the place where our human capital is developed to its great potential, we will never be able to sustain what the mineral wealth has brought us. So education is the cornerstone in terms of us achieving the aims and the goals of the Royal Bafokeng Nation.
Next, we travel to Ghana, where Yara International will show us the economic potential of effective interventions in the agricultural sector.
Agriculture contributes about 36% of the country's GDP. In terms of employment, it employs about 56% of the active population, and is a major foreign exchange earner for our country. So really it's the #1 contributor to our economic development. We want to really promote maize, rice, and soybean as our 3 main food security crops. Looking at the incidence of erratic rains and weather changes, we want to develop irrigation. In addition, we are trying to introduce various technologies that can help increase productivity and maintain our soils sustainably. And once we have not been able to fully mechanize our agricultural operations, it makes labor a little bit critical to agricultural development. But all these mechanization equipments are imported, and it brings high cost to the farmers. And also, there's decline in soil fertility, and to ameliorate that, we have to add chemical fertilizers and the rest, which are also not produced locally, they are imported. So it makes cost of production becomes a little bit high.
In Ghana, you have many smallholder farmers. 90% of the farming population is smallholder farmers. So we talk about 3, 4, 5 million people. We won't be able to replace all the nutrients in the soil. So giving the right plant nutrient and giving them access to those nutrients is key to increase the productivity on a national level. It's not a single company solution. We need to have different companies joining forces together to try to not only bring the fertilizer, but bring the seeds, the banks to bring the financing, and the food companies to guarantee a market for the extra production. And this is only by tackling the full value chain that we will be able to make a massive impact for the smallholders in Africa.
The Ghana Grains Partnership is made up of Wenco, a distributor of seeds and chemicals, the AECF, a donor-based organization, and Yara Ghana. In 2009, the partnership founded the Masara Naziki, or Maize for Prosperity Association. They chose northern Ghana because it is the country's breadbasket and also where most soil fertility challenges are encountered.
The main things are getting access to credit, because farmers can't get access to credit at the moment at an affordable rate. You need quality inputs delivered on time. Farmers need to know how to use them, and you need a ready market at the end of the year. You have to help them with the post-harvest because you increase their yields, so you have to also make sure they can go somewhere with it. We offer a ground price for their products. So a farmer at the beginning of the year, when he signs up with us, he already knows what he's going to get per metric ton of maize. So through that, he knows what is going in and what's coming out.
Using the methods being taught us by Masara, I've seen that there's a very great improvement in my yield. The Minister of Agri came and then supervised my yield last year and this year, and they gave me an award as the best maize farmer in the district. Due to that, we would like us to make a field, a demonstration field for farmers to come and see what we are really doing. So I think that with time, when people adapt it, the region will not have problems with food production, especially maize.
Yara supplies the fertilizers directly to the association and then provides assistance in claiming government subsidies for smallholder farmers. This enables the Masara Naziki farmers to obtain quality fertilizers at a cheaper price.
The Yara crop nutrition concept is based on three aspects: application competence, crop knowledge, and product portfolio. We believe it is the right solution for the farmer to apply the right product at the right time with the right quantities. You can't only provide the product, you need to bring the knowledge with it. This is how we add value to the farmer.
And I entered this program about 5 years ago. 5 years. And Yara have taken 1 year to train me and my surrounded community farmers before they bring Yara fertilizer, which called Activa. How to plant, how to apply the fertilizer, how to do it. So I've seen difference from the other fertilizer company. Even a poor peasant farmer can use Activa 1 bag and get yield to solve feeding his family. It also supports the environment of the land.
The knowledge-based approach is essential to be used to improve the farming sector, because you already know what is missing in the soil if you have that knowledge. So what you simply do is that you recommend the replacement of that mineral, and we assess them. We take the best treatment for farmers which are proven, so that we don't load the farmers with a lot of treatments. Without fertilizer, no cereals will be produced in the northern part of Ghana because the soils are very poor.
The scientists are involved in the R&D processes, that is research and development. Their main objective is to ensure that the seeds, the inputs that the farmers use applied in the appropriate quantities and in the right forms. Economically, it has empowered a lot of farmers. Farmers are able to take their children to school, to the hospital. They are able to build their own houses. Over the years, our fertilizer supply to the association has increased. So we think that it's a win-win situation. It has helped both the farmers and then the stakeholders involved in the association.
The Ghana Grains Partnership is a viable business model tackling food security in North Ghana. We bring together all the players of the sector: the seed companies, the fertilizer companies, the banking system, and the processors, to be able to provide knowledge and high-tech quality product at the farm gate.
The Ghana Grains Partnership is a wonderful model for agricultural development. That model has been able to some extent address some of the few challenges we have in agricultural production, especially cereal production. So the Ghana Grains Partnership Model has come to stay.
Thanks for being with us on It's Africa's Time. Please join us in the first week of June when we look at the integration of environmental considerations into the economic and social objectives of 3 international organizations operating in South Africa.